Someone is bound to ask, can there be Uncharted without Nathan Drake? The answer may be surprising to some, but it certainly is a yes. Hey guys, Game Prime here, and this is my review of Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy started development sometime after Uncharted 4: Thief's End released back on May 10, 2016. Originally planned to be a DLC companion to the game, as The Last of Us Left Behind was to The Last of Us, it turned into a much bigger game, and that was for the better all around. During planning stages of the game, people within Naughty Dog discussed whether they wanted to make an Uncharted 5 or downloadable content for the game. They decided on DLC so they could work on developing The Last of Us Part 2 quicker. On December 4th, 2016, at the 2016 PlayStation Experience, it was revealed that Uncharted 4's story DLC had become its own game. This is where Uncharted: The Lost Legacy was first revealed. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy has a very interesting story to go along with it. To be very scarce of details, Chloe Fraser, a series fan favorite who was absent from A Thief's End, makes her return and teams up with the former leader of Shoreline, Nadine Ross, to find the Tusk of Ganesh, an ancient Indian artifact that is close to Chloe's past. With every Uncharted game, there are a few parts that make an Uncharted game, well, an Uncharted game. It's usually climbing, platforming, shooting, and doing puzzles. While all those things remain in Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, this game brings something new to the table to help Chloe stick out a bit from Nathan Drake. She has the ability to lockpick, and if you're like me and are a huge Sly Cooper fan, the lockpicking in this game is nearly identical to the safe cracking in Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves. I'm all for this addition, and it was a great way to give you some very handy weapons along your journey. The Jeep from Uncharted 4 returns as well, along with a winch, and it plays a large part in the game as it did in A Thief's End. In Chapter 3, you are placed in the Western Ghats of India, and you get to drive around in the biggest area in any Uncharted game to date. This place is huge, and it's so huge, as a matter of fact, that I got lost here more than I'd like to admit, and it kinda turned me off about this portion of the game. I say Chapter 3 takes up at least 1/3 of the entire game, and it took me around 2 hours to complete this portion, and besides some very neat puzzles, this section did not amaze me that well. However, the rest of the game managed to do that. Also, the encounters of this game were on par with those of the encounters from Drake's Fortune and Drake's Deception. I think this game had better encounters than The Thief's End by a long shot, and to top it all off, the rest of the game felt like Uncharted. In Uncharted 4, there were some things missing in a sense, but it still made it a great game. Everything I felt that was missing from Uncharted 4 returns in Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. You really feel like you mean something to just not yourself as a treasure hunter, but as a hero all around. And not to mention the beautiful environments that beat any of Uncharted 4's out of Kings Bay. The graphics in this game are basically the same as Uncharted 4's, which is totally fine because to this day, Uncharted 4 is still to me the best looking game today on PS4, and maybe even all of gaming to date. I don't think The Lost Legacy can rival A Thief's End's graphics as much as they can complement one another's. And as mentioned before, the environments are beautiful and probably the best they've ever looked since Uncharted 2. So if any of you guys know me, I'm a huge music guy when it comes to music and video games, and I think that they set the tone for the adventure you're partaking in, and it really makes a video game. Think about cake. You wouldn't want to have cake without frosting, right? Well, you don't want to eat cake with frosting that tastes horrible either, do you? With Uncharted 4, the cake tasted great, but the icing sucked. In other words, I hated Henry Jackman's score for the game, and I think it was the weakest part of the entire game. I still to this day have no clue why they let Greg Edmonson leave when Amy Hennig left, but that's besides the point. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy still uses Henry Jackman as a composer, and I didn't think anything of it. I was just gonna hate the OST again like I did with Leaf Set. Actually, I liked this game's OST, and I thought it was pretty strong compared to 4. Not as strong as any of Greg Edmondson's work on the original trilogy, but I thought most of the tracks were great, and he incorporated the native Indian tone to the tracks very well. So I was impressed by that part. So, all in all, I loved Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Besides a very dull, long chapter in the Western Ghats of India, the entire game felt like an Uncharted adventure and showed us all that there can be Uncharted without Nathan Drake. I hope it continues without Nathan Drake in the future, as there are still many stories to be told. I give Uncharted: The Lost Legacy a solid 9.0 for an amazing Uncharted adventure without Nathan Drake. Fantastic gameplay, better music, great character development, and a more well-rounded Uncharted experience than Uncharted 4. This has been my review of Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Let me know what you guys think about this game in the comments below, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more reviews in the future. Thanks for watching.